Hi, I'm Donna and this is Charlotte. We're from Pimms and Needles. Thank you for joining us. This podcast is brought to you with Point North. They're supporting our project, which is called Bloom in Life.
And it's through a fund called Enriching Later Lives. And it's all about providing information for women in midlife to help navigate really difficult situations and kind of facilitate positive change.
Hello and welcome. Today we're joined by Ruth from Ecologico. Really excited. We'll be having a lovely chat about all things thrifty and ecological. Hi, Ruth.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Oh, on this lovely hot day. Thank you for taking some time
and I've got
out.
my cardigan on and everything. So covering my flamingo land wristband. So, thanks for having me though. I'm really excited about what's going to happen, especially for tea.
Yes, yes. We'll get to that in a moment. That's Donna's job. You always like to be
I do like to pour the tea, yeah.
So Ruth, tell us a little bit to start us off, because I know you do loads of different things, but how would you define what you do?
Oh, that's a million-pound
big question.
So I think the easiest way to sort of sum up everything I do is I'm a social entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So basically I run a few different businesses and help a few other businesses and charities, all that want to make a difference to people and to the planet. And for me, it's about people, planet and purse. That's what I always say. Saving people money, making it a nicer place to live and helping people connect with each other.
Mm-hmm. That's gorgeous, isn't it? It's your mission statement.
Yeah, absolutely. So your business, Ecologico, tell us a little bit about what that part of what you do.
Yeah, I think that probably feeds in a lot to what we'll talk about as well in terms of like the thriftiness of it. So I came from a background of, I was a teacher and then I worked in charities doing business development. So like in a very corporate role, nothing to do with sustainability. I was very much a fake tan, false eyelashes, sequins, new outfit every day. I was not this person. I was dancing on a table in the back of Geordie Shore. So, that was who I was. I was not this person at all. But then something happened very suddenly in our lives as a family where my husband was made redundant. We had 2 children under 2. So I had an 18-month-old and a 4-month-old at that time. And we literally had no money. So I was on statutory maternity pay. If you've ever been on statutory maternity pay, it's like nothing. And my husband was made redundant and he was obviously the breadwinner. So I had to look around pretty quickly around how to save money. And really, that's where Ecologico started. I'll be honest, it wasn't necessarily about like environmental issues for me. It was very much around that like frugal living. If you think back to like women in the war, make, do and mend, like all of that kind of thing, upcycling, repurposing, using up your food, trying to like make things stretch out. So then I realised that actually other people needed this help and that's where the business was born really. Can I help them by, giving them advice, giving them support, teaching them, but also providing the products that they might need that might help them do that, as well as the education. And that's when the business was born. And that was back in 2019. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster since then. 2 more babies, a couple more businesses, but underneath it all is still that thrifty sort of frugal, use it up. We always say use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. That's what we say in our house.
It's such a good ethos though, isn't it? Because I think that we live in such a disposable culture, don't we, where things come and, people buy a new sofa and then it goes. And I think like when we were just talking about this the other week, when we were sort of younger and you'd get your first house, everything would be given. You'd have nothing new. But now a lot of people get a new house and they get everything new to go in it. And it is just a different concept, isn't it?
And it's getting worse and worse in a way, I think, with social media. Like, I think I'm actually lucky that I didn't, when I was going out and I was a teenager, there wasn't this social media, like nothing was on Instagram, there wasn't pressure, but I couldn't buy things online. So it's those two things together. It's like, oh, I'm going to be everywhere I go, someone's taking a picture of me, so I can't wear the same thing over and over again because then it looks like I've only got one dress. But also it's so easy then when you're on Instagram or you're on TikTok to just go, oh, actually, I'll just buy a new top. And those two things are just a perfect storm that make people buy way more than they need. And actually, that's what the companies want. That's why they put it on there. So they know what they're doing. And I always say, like, they want you to buy. Of course, they're encouraging this mentality. So it feels pretty strange to go, actually, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop buying. Actually, the more you tell me to buy something, the less I'm going to buy. Feels quite a rebellious act sometimes.
It is just funny because I think back in our day, like Donna said, when we were starting off, you know, you were just in your own lane, weren't you? With the people around you, you were like, oh, I'm so pleased I've got this little terrace house. You know, now there's like all of that's gone, hasn't it? So you're looking at celebrities' houses on Instagram, whatever, and that's where the benchmarks move to. So we're all really living in this quite a false world, as such, isn't it?
And I think as well, I've read something recently that said, right, you never saw the inside of somebody else's home unless it was your friend and you went round there. But now, if you opened Facebook now or Instagram, you would literally see the inside of not just celebrities, but like Donna down the road has put on this, she's renovating her kitchen, or she's doing a tidy up with me, or a get ready with me. Like, we never had that. Like, what is this world where we are voyeuristically looking inside people's homes and consuming that like maybe 10, 12 hours a day? So it does give that like compare and despair, I think, of like, oh, well, her front room's much nicer than mine. Maybe if I bought a new sofa or a new like TV, my telly's a lot smaller than their telly. We never had that. You might go around someone's house and think it, but it would be maybe once a week. Now it's all day, every day. So for younger people, I think, especially who haven't grown up with realizing this isn't normal, then actually it can cause a lot of anxiety if we have to have. And I feel sorry, you know, for young married couples or new mums where they feel like, oh, I'm a terrible mum or a terrible wife if we don't have this at our wedding or we don't have this when the baby comes. So I think it puts so much pressure on people.
A lot of pressure,
doesn't it?
And my mum had said last week, and it sort of made me think that's when we were having that conversation. But my mum said, I saw on, I don't know if she's on Instagram or Facebook, she went, somebody was doing like a cleaning round the house and panning round the house and doing this. And she went, I just thought, why would you be putting that on? What a strange thing.
It's true, isn't it? When you zoom out and think about it.
I just thought, you know what, we're seeing it and we're thinking like, oh gosh, it's overwhelming. But from an older generation, they're just thinking, why on earth would somebody be sharing their inside of their home with the outside
You've
world?
got enough on trying to do your housework, never mind setting up cameras to get good angles of it. Like, just get on and clean your house. Like, round of applause, you've cleaned your house. Okay, great. But it does, when you zoom out and step out of it. And I think now for me, because we've lived this way for so long, I'm very like desensitized to this. So I look at it and I kind of have that same thing of like, why is somebody filming that and putting it on the internet, like cleaning their toilet or like putting their washing in? I don't want to see people's dirty. I've got enough washing in my own house. Do you know what I mean? I see enough washing. I don't need to look at everyone else's as well. But it's part of actually what they're doing is trying to sell you what they've got in their house. And we need to remember that there's always like that agenda and that motive behind it. They're probably getting paid, or they've been gifted a product, or they're trying to get money from views on social media. So it's not always as innocent as it seems.
I think people still are not aware of that, you know, that you sort of, I think the one that I keep getting the ads for at the moment is that Korean skincare. Have you seen that? And it's like people recommending it, but I'm thinking they'll all be getting something back, won't they, for everyone that buys it. But I think you see it and you think, oh, that's a genuine person, about my age, life-changing results. And it is easy just to click to basket, isn't it? Where I think that everyone needs to wake up, really, don't they?
And don't get me wrong, I still do that. I still see these ads and I'll click on them and I'll look on the website and I might even put it in the basket, but then I'll leave it and I take a minute and I'm like, do I really want this? Or is it just because I've probably seen it 25 times today? And I think we're not even aware with our phones, like, to have a computer that powerful in our pockets that it can literally just be listening to us and feeding us that information. I looked at my phone once and it was like, you've subconsciously checked your phone 241 times today. And I didn't even register, but it was just those little, you know, like, open your phone, quickly flip, close it again. And I was like, actually, that takes up a lot of brain space when we've already, as women, got loads of mental load anyway. That's just adding so much more to it, isn't it? So just making our lives simpler, I think. Having less stuff to clean, having less stuff to think about, having less stuff to pay for, to me, just makes sense. It's a win-win. And I can use that money for something nice.
Yeah, and I think as well, I mean, I love buying vintage and secondhand and making it my own and stuff. And I just think sometimes when you're looking at what, like, consumerist things that you can get, like from Temu, the furniture and, like, if you buy something solid, it's going to last you so much longer. But it is just that thing, that loop that everyone's in, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me as well, like I always worry with these websites, like where's that information going? Because, you know, like it's cheap, but there is always, I would say, what's the cost? Like what's the actual cost? Is it like, if it's free, you're taking my data and giving it to somebody? Or is it that, you know, it's not being ethically made, or it's going to fall apart in 2 minutes because it's got like, you know, it's been terribly made, it's got chemicals in it that it shouldn't have, it hasn't been tested to UK standards. There's been loads of examples, like with furniture, where even baby furniture, it hadn't been tested to UK standards, and you're putting your most precious thing in the whole world in that. Like, you want to buy something, I'd rather put it in a 100-year-old solidly made handmade crib than something that I'd bought that I don't really know who's made it, where's it come from, and the quality of it. So yeah, it's scary really, because I think we are so desensitized to it. And I've had a few people just in my group this week say, I've started now on my phone, if I see something, I might screenshot it and I have a folder, and if I keep thinking about it, and I might look for something similar on Vinted or whatever, but if I keep thinking about it, I might actually buy it. You know, it might be a dress from Next that they've seen, and they click it, they save it, they come back to it, and they obviously do really want it. But they said it's amazing how many times by the Friday, because they always just only buy on a Friday, they don't want it anymore. But it's just like they've seen it, they want it, they can get it at the click of a finger on their sofa. And I think we've just become so used to that way of living, haven't we? It's too easy.
It is too easy, definitely. So I'm sure anybody that's listening to this, what they really want to know is, because you mentioned to us previously that you save quite a substantial amount of money every year by living in this kind of way with this thrifty mentality. Tell us a little bit about the key things that you do to make that happen.
We worked out, so I do a lot of research because I'm a geek and I want to know. So I do a lot of research about like how much does an average family spend? And you know, that varies wildly, doesn't it? What's an average family? Families come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and you've got the super rich down to the super in need. But we save, compared to an average family of 6, we save around £25,000 on what an average family spends every year. And that is purely through not buying new, where we can help it. Obviously, there's some things we might always need to buy new. For example, our shower head broke, and we can't get that second hand because it's a very specific shower head. You have to, of course, we have to shower. Like, I'm not going to be so stubborn that I'm going to not let my 9-year-old son not shower because he really needs it. But we don't buy new clothes. The kids don't get new toys or things like that. Even their school uniform, their dancing leotards, their football kits, their Beavers and Scouts uniform, everything we get second hand. And that alone probably saves us around £5,000 a year just on that. That's not to say we don't buy clothes, just like you said, we just get them secondhand. We actually love clothes, like, and that's one thing that I think people don't realise. We don't miss out on anything. We actually have lots of clothes. I buy lots of clothes. I love clothes. I like makeup. The kids love toys. We have lots of things. It's just how we source them. We get given them, we swap them, that kind of thing. The other massive one is food. And I know like lots of people, probably people listening, will be thinking, every time I go in that supermarket, you just see week on week, don't you? Even like it's ridiculous. And I'm one of those again where I'm like, that used to be 45 pence and now it's 90 pence. And you kind of know, don't you, yourself, if you go to the same supermarket, you know what you expect your shop to cost. So our food shop is probably around £45 a week for a family of 6.
Wow.
And
that's brilliant, isn't it?
From food waste. And when I say food waste, we're not scavenging in people's bins or anything like that. We don't eat food that's off, but we use things like community groceries, community supermarkets. So there's one just down the road. For example, Fair Share, I went and spoke to them as part of the work that I do. And they said that actually clothing manufacturers and food manufacturers will overproduce the amount of food they need. And supermarkets are actually very bad at knowing what their stock levels need to be. So the food that they're giving me, which is still in date for a week, is the exact same food that is on the shelf in the supermarket. It's just that the supermarket didn't have room for it because they didn't get their stock levels and ordering right, which is insane.
It's bonkers, isn't it? Then?
And why would I go and pay £4 for a chicken when actually I can get the exact same chicken off the line for free?
Yeah.
It's just madness.
Yeah.
So that's that obviously saves us an awful lot of money. If people think about what their weekly or monthly food shop costs, that obviously saves an awful lot of money.
And can anyone go to these places?
Yeah, so this was one thing, is that I was under the misconception about community groceries and community supermarkets, surplus supermarkets, that, oh, you must need some kind of referral, you need to be on benefits. Like, we aren't, we don't get any support at all from anyone. You don't need a referral. It is purely about food waste. So there's a food app called Olio, and that, again, volunteers from the community will go and collect that food from supermarkets. But we actually got given some packs of Sainsbury's Taste the Difference smoked salmon that was £7 a pack. There was 6 packs that somebody had just collected from a supermarket, and if she hadn't have collected it at 9 o'clock at night, it would have just gone in the bin.
Yeah.
So we just take it and put it in the freezer. Like, once it's in the freezer, it's fine, we'll leave it there. So anyone can use Olio. It's not about being poor or having benefits or a certain need. Anyone can use those. With Company Shop, which is like a surplus supermarket, they have a membership sort of scheme, but if you work in certain professions or you're on certain benefits, you can become a member. It's just part of their model that they had to have it, it wasn't open like a supermarket. But even if you're not eligible, somebody can nominate you often for membership.
Yeah.
So I nominated my friend. She was able to get a membership because I'm a member. So they kind of will let pretty much anybody.
We are.
Yeah.
They're
And
amazing.
it's so good. And again, you walk in and it just feels like a supermarket. Maybe not like a superstore supermarket, but it reminds me of the supermarkets in the 90s where I would go in and it's tall shelves and you go around and you see what they've got. So it's not like, we're not saying that it's like to a, Tesco superstore level, but you can do a pretty decent shop. They've got a lot of like M&S food, Ocado, you can get organic fruit and veg. So we eat really well, actually. We eat a lot of organic food. And if you think about food waste in terms of yellow sticker stuff, a lot of that is the stuff that has been expensive. So you get a lot of meat and organic fruit and veg because that's the stuff that people don't buy. So I think sometimes when I say £45 a week, they think we're on like smart price spaghetti hoops and like dry bread and stuff. But actually we eat really well, a really varied diet, lots and lots of, we don't buy fruit and veg, we don't buy bread, we only get it if it's free and we freeze it. Even milk, we get it, we freeze it. Freezing stuff is so good. It's effectively pressing pause. So even if you get something that's out of date that day, as soon as you put that in the freezer, you've pressed pause on that and it's absolutely fine. But I think it goes back again, I'm sure if we spoke to our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, there wasn't such thing as best before dates, sell-by dates. You opened it, you sniffed it. If you still weren't sure, you might give it a little taste and then you go, oh, that's on the turn. Even the milk now, it's got a best before, but I still always smell it to see, like, is it on the turn? Because you can't always trust anyway.
I'm chief milk. See, my dad used to be a milkman, so we always, the smell of like off milk was his fan, but it's quite nostalgic to me. I quite like it, so I've no problem either at all with.
You're all right with it on the turn.
I
as
am.
well.
I'm like, that's fine. That is
it's
all
fine
right
for a cup of tea. I wouldn't put it on the kids' Weetabix, but I'll have it in.
Honestly, I just think
Fish the bits out. It'll be all right.
I took a cheesecake to my friends at the weekend when I went down and I said, oh, I brought this lovely cheesecake. They went, is that out of date? I was like, it'll be absolutely fine.
Taste it, it's fine, it's character building.
It'll be fine.
But it's funny because actually my kids very rarely get, and I should touch wood somewhere here, but like I think again people go, oh God, you give your kids food that's out of date that day or yesterday or whatever. But like things like, for example, eggs, I'll always do the egg test in the water. If they're fine, we'll boil them, we'll give them to them. But my kids very rarely get bad tummies. They're more likely to pick up something from school than I think they are from that. Like, so I think we've got this thing now where we're also hyper aware of germs and getting poorly, aren't we? That actually people like, oh, I'm not going to even eat it if it's on the day that it goes off.
I know.
And throw away so much food. But it's ridiculous. Like the supermarkets are throwing away the factories themselves are throwing away lorry loads of foods. It's just cheaper
That's crazy.
to run the line So it's cheaper to press a button, not have a human, and run a line for 24 hours, knowing in your head that you're going to overproduce by 50%, and that will all just go. And there's no penalty for them doing that. So they're creating all that waste. Oh. And I just think, from a human point of view, there are so many families who are struggling, who actually give it away, give them that food. So that's something that I'm really passionate about, is how can we feed bellies and not bins. But it comes down to, I mean, it's the same, with clothing manufacturers. It's cheaper for them to incinerate it, to bin it, than it is to actually ethically produce it and have humans doing it and have short lines. So for them, it's all about profit margin. It's not about what's best. And I think probably, again, like we were talking about before, people probably aren't aware of that. They don't, when you go and pick up your, chicken goujons from the supermarket, you're not thinking like, where's this come from? How is it being made? What waste was involved? So it's just getting people to think a little bit more about those kinds of things.
So I think it was really interesting when you were talking before about like returns, because some people you'd buy 5 things to try on, send 4 things back, and you think, I'm being good, I'm just keeping one thing. Yeah. And I was thinking, they'll get repackaged and go back out again. But you were saying that's not the case.
No, they're just sent for incineration or, packaged off somewhere else. So I was talking to a lady earlier in the week, and she was saying she used to live in Ghana, and they would just see like piles on the ground, piles and piles. And obviously the locals will then take them and use them. So you think, okay, well, great, they're being used. But firstly, that's really damaging to their own garment industry. So they've got no textiles industries in the country, or it's very limited. But then the rest of it is just in big piles that's either left or burning. And it's the same with food. And actually rotten food is giving off methane. So it's contributing to those gases. And, so it actually is having a really detrimental effect. But just from a financial point of view, it's much cheaper. So some companies won't even pay for a courier. They'll say, just keep it, just bin it, or they'll just get a courier to bin it. They're not interested in taking it back, processing it, doing anything with it. And sometimes they do. So you might say, like on Amazon, you can have like Amazon Marketplace, and sometimes that'll be where it's like someone's returned this. But that's very few and far between for the amount of stuff. Like you think, if every shop you do, you order 5 dresses and you send 4 back, they're not then being sent to Charlotte the next week. Like they're being incinerated, and that's crazy.
We've just sort of obsessed with everything in abundance and having that choice, aren't we, on every level. But I find that quite overwhelming. I kind of think, like, going to the company shop, going to a supermarket, like, this is what's here, this is what I'm going to get. If I'm in a massive supermarket, I just think, I can't even be bothered to go around. It's going to take me an hour and a half of my life. Am I that interested? I just think it's too much for our mental load, isn't it?
And that's something that I talk about all the time. So, like, I worked in mental health for Mind as a business development manager, and actually, and I've got lived experience of poor mental health, and actually choice isn't a good thing. And as women, we know, like, mental load, we've got enough of it. We don't need more. And the competitive side of it, of like, now it's World Book Day and we've got to do an outfit. And, back in the day, it would be, we were talking about Halloween and laughing about how you used to get like a bin bag cave and them witches' fingers. And like, now people are on for hours. And, Pinterest, great. I love Pinterest. I love YouTube. But it creates a thing now, like, where my daughter was like, well, we need to do Wizard of Oz, family themed, and like buy everything. And I was thinking, I've got enough on my plate. I was just hoping that we could just I could just rip up a bed sheet and make you into a zombie, just be a cheerleader with a cheerleader outfit that you've already got, but I'll put some red eyes on you, be a dead cheerleader, I'll back home you. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like that's what it was like. And now we've got to a point where we have to do this, because if we don't, then we are the parent, and then we're not good mums, and we're not good wives, and we're not good friends, and we're not good brides, and if we don't do all of these like things that you're supposed to do. And I just think it's exhausting. We've got enough to think about. Christmas, Elf on the Shelf, Christmas Eve boxes. Like, we used to get a new pair of pajamas on Christmas Eve as a kid, but that was it. You didn't have all of this like elf arrival party, like it's like, oh my goodness. And I love celebrating. I don't want to sound like a Scrooge. I love parties. I love celebrating. I love spending time with people I love, but actually by not consuming stuff, I can spend more money on them, taking them to lovely places, spending time with them, giving them lovely memories. Like, I don't have to work as much.
No.
I can go on nice holidays instead of having loads of rubbish in my house that I don't really need. So to me, I always say this is where it's a win-win. Like, it's a win for the planet, it's a win for my purse, and I mentally feel so much better because I just go, I'm the parent who's like, I'm not writing class Christmas cards because it's wasteful. Here's one Christmas card for the whole class and I'll send some sweets in.
Yeah.
And other parents have said to me, oh, thank God you've said that, because we have felt like it's the mum that writes the 30 Christmas cards. It's not the 4-year-old. So it's like another job that we have to do. But actually, by just going, no, I'm not buying the Christmas cards, I'm not sending that, I'm not buying for everybody else's kids. Like, with my friends, we just said, like, we're not buying for each other's kids. Let's all go to Beamish for the day. Let's all go out for dinner. But let's stop doing this, like, oh, well, Donnie, you spent £15 on my kids, so I'll spend £15 on your kids. And Charlotte, now I have to buy for you because I've bought for... You're like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it just gets a lot, doesn't it?
The whole thing just is ridiculous. And it's all come from a place of pressure, like unnecessary pressure.
I think as well, I mean, just topical, talking about the social media ban for children, that's coming in. I think the thing is, the children have access to that as well.
Yeah.
Our children are kind of like, oh, so-and-so's wearing this costume, so-and-so's doing this, so-and-so, I think it starts from a young age, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think it's a good thing that they're going to the social media ban, because I just think if you can reduce some of that clutter and that down for our children, that can only be a good thing, can't it?
Absolutely.
They were talking about skincare and like obviously the Korean skincare and stuff like that, but like my daughter's just turned 8 in June and she's already saying like, I want skincare, I want to go here, and that peer pressure is kicking in, and it's hard enough being a girl.
Yeah.
And it's hard enough like navigating peer pressure in general, but it's like we've had that conversation with her of like, every video that you might see on YouTube, it's an advert where they're doing unboxing hauls. They've been given that. And like, we've just talked about it as adults, we don't realise it. So how do we expect our children to understand that, like, oh, well, why have I not got as many presents as such a kid on the internet? Well, because they were given that, and really it's a dressed up advert. They're just not claiming that it is. And I do worry, like, my son, I think he's a little bit easier. My eldest, as long as it's black, he'll wear it. He is getting a little bit, we were talking about when you've got boys and then they start wanting sports brands and they start wanting like more, they get a little bit pickier, but you can still get that stuff.
Yeah.
But I do genuinely think for girls, it's a whole other level of peer pressure and consumer. Like as women, we are marketed to. We talk about the pink tax, how like women's clothes cost more, how pink razors, women's razors cost more than men's. So we're already having that bias. So like that's another way we save money. Like, I don't buy women's razors, I don't buy period products, we don't buy nappies, we use reusables, because like there's all of these things where we're trapped in this cycle of buying. So it's these little things that add up, and it maybe sounds overwhelming, but obviously I didn't just wake up one night and do everything. We've like built it up over time and realised actually why would we go back to doing that? Like you say, I'm not stressed. I don't get stressed about birthdays, I don't get stressed about going on holiday. We just wear clothes that we've got.
Yeah, I think that's lovely. And I think one of the things you mentioned about birthdays was I think it's ingenious what you do with the birthday packs.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
So the party kit, I can't claim it's not my idea. It's a national network, but obviously I'm a mum of 4. So I go to an awful lot of children's birthday parties, and when I started going, I just realised how much waste there is at kids' parties, like disposables. If you do a class party, 30 plates, 30 cups, 30 napkins, tablecloths, decorations, and I just thought this is absolutely ridiculous. So we went and bought a set of, they're just those IKEA, probably a lot of people have them for kids, like the plastic ones, pastel ones, bright ones, different sets, and then we hire them out. So in each party pack that you get 30 plates, 30 cups, 30 bowls, knives, forks, spoons. You get juice dispensers, so you don't have to have plastic bottles of juice. You can just do that. But then we have decoration packs. So we have lovely themed decoration packs that you can then add on. So we've got one that's Ice Princess. We're not allowed because we're not allowed. Don't want to get into a legal battle with Disney. Yeah, that's an F word. That's banned. So we can't talk about that. But we've got like a teddy bear's picnic one. We've got a gamer one. But what we found, which is lovely, is people get in touch with us all the time and say like, "Oh, my little one's just had a Pokemon themed party. We bought all the decorations," and they're not going to want it again. Like they move on. Kids move on so quickly. So we've got, for example, Peppa Pig decorations that we were given probably about 8 or 9 years ago. But the kids, obviously, as they hit that age, they're all like by osmosis exposed to Peppa Pig. So then they all want Peppa Pig. And it's funny because we've done the same, like with presents for the kids. We actually got given a sack of Peppa Pig toys for our eldest. And in between kids, we've literally squirreled it away. And like last Christmas, our 3-year-old got it for Christmas. And then we're going to squirrel it away again. So the baby will get it when it's her turn. And some people might listen to that and be absolutely horrified of like, well, why you're not giving the baby anything new? You've not spent any money on her for her birthday, but she's got a massive pile of presents. Yeah. They've just been passed on and squirreled away. So I don't think I'm depriving her. Actually, what I'm doing is putting that money in a bank account. Yeah. So then she'll have it for what she wants when she's older. So we found the party kit is like really popular. It's cheaper than disposables. There's now 500 party kits all around the world, like Australia, America, there's some in the UK. We're the only one in the northeast, from Scotland right down into South Yorkshire. And I think like every school could run that, or every village could have one. Because actually we get requests, you know, we have it not just for kids' parties, we've had it weddings, we have it, this year we've done a wedding, baptism, bridal shower, adults like birthday parties. We've had it where people have just said it's our staff like meeting or Christmas do and we don't want to have them because we wash it up. So you don't even have the inconvenience of washing it up. So people will just use it and it only costs sort of like a tenner. So actually it's easy. We drop it off, we pick it up, we wash it. Why would you not? But it saves millions of disposable items going to landfill.
It's brilliant. I think talking to you, there's just so much out there, but I think do you think you've got to be quite a confident person to go against the grain? Because that's how it feels at the moment, doesn't it? It's sort of like it's there and you could tap into it if you want to, but it's sort of easier to just do what everyone else is doing, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I totally get that, and I would be lying if I said that sometimes I didn't feel mum guilt. Like I have had evenings on Christmas Eve. So for example, we don't use wrapping paper, we wrap in fabric. So furashiki, the Japanese system of wrapping in fabric and fabric bags and things. And the kids were like, oh, we wish we could have wrapping paper because they've seen on YouTube kids unwrapping things. And then I said to Andy, like, am I a bad mum that I'm not letting them do that? And he was like, what, you're a bad mum that you're not spending like 40 quid on wrapping paper and bows? Like the presents are wrapped, they're unwrapping them, they've got presents, like don't worry about it. And sometimes I do feel guilty and think, oh, I know that I haven't spent money on this, or I know this has been given for free, or I know that they're eating food that was destined for the bin. And so even I feel that, but I know deep down, I know that it's the right thing to do. And that is hard. And I think I think for me, it's been about being around the right kind of people, where it's like, I'm very lucky that now a lot of my friends, probably because I've pushed it, are like, oh no, we get it now, we do that now, like we only get this off Vinted, or we offer to swap kids' clothes around much more freely than we did, or they're okay saying, actually, let's not buy Christmas presents for each other, let's do this instead. But it is hard, and I don't come from a family where that is normal, and actually sometimes the hardest conversations are with my own parents and family, because they still want to buy the stuff for them from Shein or Temu, or they want to still, well, I want them to have balloons, and it's like, that's not what we do. And it's hard to have those conversations. I get people, not many now, I used to get a lot saying like, you know, you're awful, what you're doing to them, you're giving them a terrible childhood, like you're depriving them. And I think what people can't understand sometimes is because we're not poor. I think people could understand, like, well, if you were poor, I can understand. Yeah. But you're consciously choosing to not spend money. Why would you do that? It's like, well, because I'd like to pay off my mortgage early, and I'd like to have nice holidays, and I'd like to have a lovely pension and a nice healthcare scheme. So to me, those things are more important than getting a new outfit for Valentine's Day, like for matching family picture. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's kind of having to be not confident necessarily. I don't know whether stubborn's the right word, but just steadfast in knowing that what you're doing is the right kind of
that's,
the right
you've made that choice, and you're gonna stick by it. But I completely agree. Like, I think sometimes at Christmas, you know yourself, you buy stuff, you get a load of toys or whatnot. You know, it's all great in the moment. Then you think, I've got a load of toys, I'm taking them to the charity shop in a few weeks later because they've never looked at them, they've never played with them. You're like, this is ridiculous. But I think you're right. You've got to just hold strong and think, no, we're good. We're all right. You know, these are my values and this is what I'm doing.
It's old-fashioned values, really.
Yeah, it is. I mean, none of this is new.
No, I mean, my mum was one of 10 and she was towards the oldest. So she always laughed, said, oh, you know, I had things new. And then it was passed down. By the time we got to Auntie Anne, there was 6 other people that had had it. But Anne was happy. It was like, I think that's just what families did, that they were all about how to reuse it. And, you know, if somebody got a hole in a pair of trousers, they'd then rock up the next day and it'd be a pair of shorts. It's just what people did.
Yeah.
But it's just now not as normal, I suppose.
And that, I think for me as well, like you've hit the nail on the head. I went to school with a family where they had 7 kids. And as a kid, I knew that at Christmas, they all got one outfit, one game, and one book. And I was like, oh, those poor kids. They were in a family of 7 kids. That meant there was 7 games, 7 books, and those outfits. Actually, the little one probably didn't need an outfit, but they were just being given it just so they weren't left out. Because actually, I've got 4 kids, and that was one of the conversations I had to have with my mum, was like, you've bought me 4 colouring books, the same, so that they can each have their own. Yeah. But 3 of them I'm putting straight in the re-gift for parties bag. Like, and that was the thing. And actually, I said to her, like, on Christmas Eve night, on Christmas Day night, sometimes I would sit and think, I feel really stressed because I'm thinking, my house is a tip. I've spent 3 weeks cleaning my house for Christmas. Now it's full of stuff that I don't really want, that I don't have space for. And now it's my responsibility to find somewhere to rehome it. So I had to have that and that was kind of the angle I came from, is like, we'd much rather you bought them. So now, for example, like my mum and dad will buy them like a pass to go to the zoo for a year, or for Beamish, or they'll pay for pantomime tickets, and they'll take them, and I'll say, like, that's what the kids want. They want to spend time with you. They want those experiences. They've got plenty of toys. Believe me, they've got cupboards full of toys they don't play with. They'd rather play with cardboard boxes and, like, you know, random bits of string. The little one was cutting out Batman masks out of paper. He's got a Batman outfit, but like, he would rather junk model a Batman mask. So I think, like, that was how I kind of approach it, not in a preachy confrontational, like, we don't want the rubbish waste, but actually just kind of from a point of view of, this might be a better way to do it. Like, this is what the kids would appreciate. This is what we would appreciate. Spend your money more wisely. And I think that's a much easier conversation when everyone's feeling the pinch, to go, do you know what? I don't want you to feel like you have to buy for us, or I don't want you to feel like you need to buy for every one of them. Just buy one thing between them. Why don't you buy a board game that we can all play? And actually, it actually silently alleviates pressure from other people, because we're all probably feeling the same thing, but none of us are brave enough to actually say it.
That's what I was going to say to you. Do you think, like, culturally, that there will be a shift back towards that? Because it is old-fashioned values. And I think, like we were talking, weren't we, the other day about the social media ban, things like that, and we think there will be a push towards getting your children back into heritage skills, traditional skills, you know, creative, offline, hands-on, tangible things. Do you think eventually, lots of things do go around, don't they, in a cycle, that we'll get back to that will become the new trendy thing?
Yeah, I think it's already happening. We're already feeling that shift, like you say. Like, I've seen things about analog baskets, and I was like, what? It's just got like knitting needles and cross stitch kits. That's just hobbies. That's not analog skills. Like, that's just hobbies, reading, doing. But I think you're right as well. Like, a lot of people are going to need those skills, because if we do see food shortages or people can't afford to actually buy new clothes, they're going to need to know how to mend, how to make, how to grow their own things and preserving. And I do see, as much as I see this influencer culture growing online, although it's not in my algorithm, I also see that counter movement of people going, I'm actually not scrolling. I've started doing embroidery rather than scrolling on a night. People are going and doing these courses. And I think so many people, and obviously this is completely intrinsic in what Pimms and Needles is all about, they're just craving human connection. Yeah. And that's what we've lost because everything's online. It's easy to think that is normal and that's the real world. But you don't have to step too far outside your front door to find people are still the same.
Yeah.
They still want the same things. They want to chat. They want a cup of tea.
Yep.
And actually that teaching each other. So when you're learning to sew, going, oh, I'm really struggling with how to do a French knot. And someone else goes, oh, this is how I was taught. And I've had even, over at the hub just on Monday, I had a 17-year-old girl and an 80-year-old lady both come in and say, we'd really like to learn how to sew and how to use a sewing machine. So I definitely think it's not even an older person thing. I think generationally, this is going to be something that we see people wanting more and more.
And we've touched on it a few times, but like the V word, vinted, I absolutely love vinted. And I think when I started using it, my friends were just like, oh, you're buying secondhand. But now everyone seems to do it.
Yeah.
And what would your tips be? Because I know you are the master of vinted.
Yeah, so for me, I think one of the things on Vinted, and I've noticed this more and more, and you might have as well, is you're getting more of those like Shein and Temu and those like maybe not as good quality items that are coming through on Vinted. So do kind of filter by brand. Make sure you look for brands that you know. One of the best tips I always say is find an outfit that you love. So whether that's a pair of jeans that fit really nice, because we all know we have like fluctuating women's sizings all over the show, isn't it? So get a t-shirt that you really like the fit of, get a pair of jeans and actually measure them yourself and keep a note of your measurements. So either if people put the measurements on, or if you sell on Vinted, I would say put the measurements on, because again, if you've been on Vinted recently, the sizing's all over with these. So it says this size, but it's a 14, but is it actually a 14 or is it an 8 or is it, you just have no idea. So actually ask what are the measurements, and then you can find things so you're not going to have that awkward thing of, oh, well, I bought a size 16, but actually it's not really, it's too tight, it's too small. Because then you have still wasted your money.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people do that, don't they? Like the people that you speak to that said, oh, I've tried Vinted, I can't get away with it. They tend to have had a bad experience. The first one or two things have not fit them or not being as described, but that's quite rare, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I've had one thing where I ordered something for my daughter and the lady genuinely, it was just the wrong size. She thought it was one size. It was a different size. So it arrived, it was the wrong size. And she said straight away, I'm really sorry, just send it back and I'll refund you. There was no chew on about it at all. But we buy a lot. I would say I've probably got, even in the locker right now, I think I've got 4 or 5 Vinted parcels there. But you can buy all sorts of things. So even just last week, we were on holiday. And this is where I sound really stingy, but the kids wanted these like zippy cushions that were animal faces, and they were £15 each. And if you've got 4 children, that's an awful lot of money on cushions that they don't really want, really. So while we were literally in the store, I snapped a picture of it, I fed it into the reverse image search on Vinted. This exact same cushion with the tag popped up for £4 on Vinted plus postage. And by the time we got home from holiday, it was there to pick up. So that's one of the things to pick up today. So it's not that they're missing out. They're actually getting the exact thing that they want. I'm just not paying 3-4 times the price for it. So using reverse image search as well is a really good way. And using brands that you like. So I had a lady, funnily enough, when we did the Swish that said, I know that I really like 2 at Sainsbury's. I just know that I love the cut of it. I love the fit. I love the style, especially like the smock dresses and stuff that they do in summer. So she literally, that's what she searches for, 2 summer dresses, or she'll even put like that viral summer dress, and she'll find it online. Because if you're only going to wear it for one summer, if it is a more like trend item, why pay for it? You will find that you can pretty much get anything that you want and need on there.
Because I always say to my friends as well, that if your budget is Primark, which we do, sometimes you think that's what I've got, you could probably get a lot better brand and something that's made out of wool rather than acrylic, and for that same budget on Vinted. So it is worth it, and like I say, it's not going to landfill. It's reusing and all that kind of thing.
And I went to a black tie do just a few weeks ago, and that's the exact conversation I had. Some of my friends were going, they were like, well, I've just had to buy my dress off Temu because that's all I can afford. And I think that is the counter argument you get. Like, I don't have a budget for a posh frock. But I said, like, I got a Twisted Wondered maxi dress off Vinted, and it was less than what you paid.
Yeah.
And it's something that I actually had wanted for a long time, and I'd managed to find it. So you absolutely can, like you say. And I think that's another thing about the food thing. It's a misconception of, oh, you must be wearing like cheap brands.
Yeah.
Like, I actually don't often buy Primark or supermarket brands on Vinted.
Yeah.
I look for Joni, or I look for Twisted Wonder, or I look for Nobody's Child, because they're the brands that I like to wear. So actually I want branded things. Like, I wanted these particular shoes that I've got on, and they were kickers, but I didn't want to buy them. So I waited, and somebody obviously had done that thing. They bought them, tried them on, ordered them online. When they tried them on, they're a bit heavier than they thought. So they were unworn, and they sold them to me for half the price that they're still on the website for. So you're totally right that you can get, my kids are dressed in way better brands than really I can afford. Probably from the outside, we look quite bougie because we've got these brands on, but it's all secondhand. And I think when you use words like pre-loved, vintage, reloved, like and I think even Vinted has broken down a lot of barriers over charity shopping.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about that perception, isn't it, of what secondhand means, really. It's
been fabulous. It's been so insightful. But as a final question, I was just going to say, anyone listening who is thinking, right, this is where I need to be, this is what I need to be doing, I want to go part-time, I want to save £20,000, how can I do it? I'm going to be more like that. What 5 tips would you give them to?
Oh my goodness.
That's a high pressure question.
High pressure.
You could do 3 if you want.
No, I think actually how I would more summarise it is don't feel like you have to do everything at once, and don't beat yourself up. So actually, if you at the moment have a £200 a month budget, halve it to £100 for clothes and see what you can get on Vinted or in charity shops. But don't beat yourself up if you forget about something and then you do buy something on TikTok shop. Like, I think it's like diets. That's the way I think about it. I think we all get that thing of like, oh, well, I've messed it up now, so, forget about it. I'm off the wagon. I'll start again on Monday, or I'll start in 2027. Just actually be kind to yourself. So even if you thought, actually, I'm going to try and halve my food shopping by going down brands, or by picking up some more food waste, or trying to grow a few herbs or salad. And even with grow things that you'll eat. Don't grow radishes because they're trendy. Grow carrots if that's what your kids will eat. Do you know what I mean? So just do what you can do. So whether that's just reducing the amount of clothes you buy, trying to get into some groups. There's some amazing groups online, so apps like Olio, Too Good To Go, Facebook groups. So we've got some really brilliant like Free Cycle and Freegal groups around where people are giving things away. And again, it's not a in need thing, it's a I'm putting this lawnmower outside or this wardrobe outside if anybody can take it. Just play with it, just see how it feels. So it's not strict tips, but I think look at the key areas of your life where you feel like you're leaking money, whether that is food, clothes, cleaning products, holidays, household, and then look at like where could I reduce that by maybe getting secondhand or looking a little bit more carefully about where I'm getting things from.
We could do a whole new podcast with you, really.
We could.
Such an interesting thing to talk about.
As long as you can promise more tea.
Oh, definitely. We might even let you have a Battenberg next time. We'll get some more. But thank you so much,
Thank you
Ruth.
for having me.
It's been fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you.